Have you ever been put in the friend zone? Because that's what she did to me. And we're gonna go into.
What a way to start the episode.
Well, let's just get right into it. That's it. We're gonna go into the story of how I got out of the friend zone, and the beautiful journey that it's been. So this is episode 2 of Finding the One, and we left off at a cliffhanger.
We did.
Where we had been friends for 3 years. We were pen pals. We were writing back and forth. I secretly had an incredible crush on you, obviously. And I want to let everybody know, like, the build up to this moment. Like, I knew there was something in my heart, there was something in my soul, that was something that I was like destined to be with, this perfect embodiment of everything that I'm looking for. And so I had gone through several spiritual experiences, one of which, leading up to this meeting of ours, Source told me to be celibate for 6 months. I remember very clearly, I was in the middle of meditation in my couch. I was probably thinking about you, because I would always think about you back then. I literally would think about you every day. And the message came very, very clear. It was, you are to be celibate. And I was like, oh man, no, I don't want to do that, right? But somewhere inside of me, it's like I knew that it was like you were in the peripheral, and things were starting to match up and align in our lives, where it was like, whoa, this is a possibility. At least for me it was, not for you.
I was completely clueless.
Completely clueless. Yeah. Where it started kicking off for me was when we had our first psychic conversation. Do you remember that?
That was after Awaken.
Was it after Awaken?
Yeah.
Okay, so then we'll go to Awaken, then we'll have that.
Yeah.
So I knew, this is interesting, I knew that I would meet my partner by water. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but lo and behold, I had invited you to teach yoga virtually at Awaken.
Yep.
Which happened to be in San Diego, in Coronado Island, which happened to be in a little island where I was by water. And I remember that night getting ready. I mean, if you guys can picture this, I had had a crush on you for 3 years. We talked all the time by that time. We were texting back and forth, I think you were oblivious, but I obviously wasn't. And we were about to meet the next day. And I remember like being like a kid in the candy store, like really excited to meet you. And I'll never forget the moment. We actually captured it on video.
We actually have to post that one day, because it's the funniest thing you'll ever see. And I don't remember it going down like that. Like in the moment, you could see in my face, I was so clueless.
Yeah. Yeah. But do you remember why do you say it was funny?
Oh, because you can just see in your face, you're like touching your heart. You're like, hi. Don't you? You're like this.
Yes,
and then you're like off camera.
Because I felt all the pressure in my chest, literally.
He like walks off camera, like to the back of the room, kind of like just starts like wandering off. And I'm just sitting there like, okay, I'm ready to teach yoga.
Yeah, because I had to get off camera because I didn't want you to see all of what I was going through. Like I was a wreck. And then like I had never seen you. So I just thought you were the most beautiful thing I had ever seen. And I was like, get off camera right now, because you're going to burst out laughing or something, and she's going to know that you have a crush on her. So I literally just like, okay, well, we'll see you in a little bit. And I get off camera and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm doomed. I'm doomed. Like, it's over. It's over. Like, it's either her or nothing else, basically, is what I felt at that moment. But then you went on to teach the yoga.
Yeah.
I remember the room. One of these days we have to take a trip. But I remember the room, and I remember after the class, the audience like something magical happened at that class. There was like, the way I like to think about it was when we first locked eyes, something happened in the spiritual world. Everyone who was at that class felt something because they came to me and they were like, that was like angels, or, oh my God, she had like an angelic voice. And they were like, do you feel that? And I was just like, yeah. It was really that vibe, to the point that if my memory is correct, I even think my ex-wife was in that room, and I even think because I had told her about you, I even think she was like, wow, she's really good. Like, it was one of those moments. Do you remember that?
I just remember coming on to teach the class. Like, that's the funniest thing. It's like, I just remember being in my studio, like doing what I do, teaching the class. But I was going through a really rough patch.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, because this is what's weird. I was going through a really rough patch in my relationship at the time. So I remember thinking, I need to compartmentalize the fact that, like, I think that my whole world's about to fall apart, and like I'm going to move out my flat and I'm going to do all these things, and I need to break up with my long-term boyfriend. It's like, okay, just don't think about that. Just teach the class.
So that's what was going on in your head.
That's what was in my subconscious.
Right.
And then literally after I taught that class, I remember getting on the phone with my mum and dad, like, I can't do this anymore with my partner. Like, I have to leave.
But
and I was freaking out. Go on.
Go. I was about to say, but do you see, baby, is like, that's when our journey really, like, I felt our energy, our souls, the fact that we saw each other. I felt that that's why because I didn't flirt with you. I didn't talk to you. It was nothing, but just your energy and our energy coming together is what caused you to call your parents and be like, I can't do this anymore. Could there be some truth to that?
A lot of truth. In retrospect, in the moment, I was, as I keep saying, I was like oblivious to what was going on. But I feel like when you get further along your spiritual journey, you see like nothing is a coincidence, and like everything webs together so perfectly that it's not just, oh, I taught the class and then I decided I needed to break up with my boyfriend, and weirdly I was teaching the class with you. It was the first time we met, and none of that is a coincidence.
Right.
Which I can see now.
Right.
But at the time, no.
Yeah. And so I remember that day I led like day 2 of Awaken or whatever, which is obviously not Awaken today.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember that day you didn't text me. And normally you were texting me like behind the scenes on Instagram, and we were just talking, but I didn't hear from you that day until the next morning you texted me. And I will never forget what you said. Do you remember what you said?
No.
You said, I'm sorry I didn't reach out to you. I realized something happened after that class. I just felt like it was time for me to break up with my boyfriend. And that's when I knew we would be together. Because I knew you were oblivious, but I knew in the spiritual world, the angels brought us together. I know you guys think this is the weirdest shit. I am telling you, there can be nothing more true, and you will get this when you're on your spiritual journey, that once our energies met, it's like something inside of you, like you remembered. Mm-hmm. You remembered that we're going to be on this journey together. And you were like, yeah, there was just something about that class where I was like, I can't do this anymore. Right. And that's when I thought, oh, fuck. Like, you literally are the one. You're the one. Right. But he convinced you
to stay.
Go ahead. Share that part.
That's it. He convinced me. We had this dynamic where, and I think I mentioned this in the first episode, where it's like, no, I'll do better. We'll work on it. We'll grow together. I understand what you're saying. So as soon as I felt seen or heard, I was like, he gets it. He gets me. It's going to get better. But the issue was, it was like we had that first step of we get each other and we both feel seen, but then nothing would change. And I feel like a lot of people can relate to that because we have these, we find the courage, we have the big conversation, but part of our ego doesn't really want to leave because it's super comfortable to stay. So as soon as someone's like, don't leave, I'll do better, you're like, okay.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Yeah, I'll stay.
Yeah.
So I stayed.
So you stayed.
Yeah.
But by the time I had heard of that, and I want to get into that in a second, but by the time I heard, like literally I remember you saying, because to me I was like, yes, I've been waiting for this for 3 years. But by the time you said he convinced me to stay, I was like, that's not going to last. Like the walls are starting to fall. The walls are already starting to fall. And I knew, I kid you not, it wasn't anything from this world. I knew spiritually, like from here on out, like it's game on now. It's game on. I have a question for you though. Somebody out there is listening. You've been in that dynamic, and then you're now in our dynamic where for both of us, we just had a situation like this 2 nights ago.
Yeah.
Stuff comes up, we vocalize it, we say what needs to be worked on, and then genuinely things actually change. Talk to me about both of those places to be and give some advice. Maybe some things to look for, maybe a way to communicate better, maybe a way to look internally and to go inward for anybody that's in that dynamic right now.
There was a lot of questions in one sentence.
I'm Dominican, I talk a lot.
Yeah. So, how do I answer this? The first step is having the courage to say something, because it does take courage to all those things, and you know this, all those things are like bottling up inside that start to get to you and they're just like picking away at you. It takes a lot to say that to someone because you don't know what their reaction is going to be. And all we really want in life is to be loved. So if we say something to the other person that's potentially going to make them not love us as much, that's really scary. So it takes courage. And then once you've said it, it's the feeling seen. Are they really hearing me? Are they really listening to what I'm saying? And like understanding, validating, affirming, maybe I don't fully get that, but I'm going to look into myself and see what I could be doing to contribute to that thing that you're talking about. And once you have all of that, it's then actually making the change. Because if you feel heard or the other person's hearing you, but then nothing changes, they're too stuck in their paradigm. They're too stuck in their limiting beliefs, the patterns they've lived by their whole life. And if they're not willing to grow and break free from that, then you can't expect anything different.
On a scale of 0 to 10, 0 being, nah, it's not necessary. 10 being, it is absolutely necessary. Now looking back, how important do you think it is for a human being to be spiritually awakened? Meaning they have had some sort of spiritual experience, whether that be mushrooms, ayahuasca, come to awaken, to do what we do. How important do you think it is for someone to be spiritually awakened, right? To be able to actually make change in relationship like what you're speaking about. 0 being, nah, it's not that important. 10 being like, I don't know how you could do it without that.
10.
Okay. That would be my answer.
Legit.
So then what you're telling me then, because listen to what you're saying when you say that. And I just want you to like really like resonate with it and share your truth. So what you're saying is that then by nature, if people have not had a spiritual experience and they are not connected to their deepest thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and they aren't aware, that in essence, humanity is out there in relationships where, for the most part, true change either cannot happen or it's practically impossible to happen.
Truth.
Wow.
Well, do you not agree?
I agree.
Truth, because...
But that's a bold statement, though. Do you know what I'm saying? But we're bold people.
It's truth. And the narrative really is, well, this was my narrative growing up, is pick someone you like because people don't really change. No one ever really changes that much. That was my narrative. Did you have that?
I don't know. I was so jacked up. I don't even know what my narrative was.
Okay.
You know what my narrative was? My narrative was, look, you're going to be rich, so just pick somebody that if you ever divorce, doesn't take everything from you. That was my narrative.
That's pretty fucked up.
No, that honest to God was my narrative. Like I wanted someone that if I ever did get divorced, that they wouldn't, like, you know, those horror stories. You're like, I really feel this. By the way, don't throw a brick through the camera right now, ladies, but I really do have to speak to men for a second, especially in this country. Like, the laws are stacked against men.
Right.
You know, so I've heard horror stories of men like literally being kicked out of the home that they built, their businesses being stripped away from them, like, because it's highly favorable to the women. But I could also see why, because there's a bunch of dickhead guys out there that, like, when they do get divorced or whatever, like, they leave their women and their children out to dry. Mm-hmm. So I could understand why, you know, I just gave half. There's no issue. But that genuinely was my paradigm. That was my story.
What did I say my story was?
Just pick someone you like because people don't change.
People don't change. Yeah.
So, are you ready?
Well, God. Why I feel like you're interviewing me? I feel really on the spot today.
Well, you could interview me. Do you want to give an example? Like, we just went through some stuff.
Right.
And I think it's beautiful what you recognize about yourself. I think it's a good conversation to have.
Okay.
Do we want to go there?
Sure.
Fuck yes. Because this is the kind of stuff that helps people, right? Where do we start?
Okay, so I go into our bedroom and I'm just getting dressed for the day frantically. And Danny says, I need to talk to you. Shut the door.
And you get this look on your face like, what did I do?
So I shut the door. And what did you say to me?
I have something to tell you. Mm-hmm. And it's been bottling up, and I just got to get it off my chest. One of my issues, which we're going to discuss in a little bit, I'm sure, a lot of times you bring into relationship issues that have nothing to do with your current relationship. They're from past relationships. So one of the issues in my past relationship was I absolutely did not in any way, shape, or form feel free to speak my truth. Because anytime that my truth was spoken, it would cause an immense argument and against immense defensiveness. And so I would just bottle things in, which in turn, in hindsight, is what caused me to be overweight for so many years. I was bottling in all those emotions. So I finally shared with you. Do you want to share? You want to share how I heard it, or how you heard it, or you want to
how you said it.
So, we had just filmed Discover. Obviously, I know you were incredibly busy. You're like getting back into your mojo. You're starting to, film all of your yoga stuff again. You've got the baby, all of that. And yet in my mind and in my heart, I felt like something was missing. What it felt like to me as a man was, and I do understand that a lot of this we've discussed is part of like old school dynamics. But in my mind, I thought like, here I am. I provide a wonderful home for us. I provide, daily help for us. And like, I was just doing this event And like, you didn't even think of making me a meal and like cooking for me, right? And especially as a Latino, which I understand that that's a whole nother side of the spectrum, like you are raised that the woman cooks for you. You work, woman cooks. I do not buy into that philosophy.
Well,
I do not buy into that. I believe that we're both, we can share. You know, I cook all the time. But still, there was like an energy behind it that for me, it wasn't even the action of making me a meal. It was like just the thought of it. Like there truly felt like there was this blockage that didn't allow you to see my needs in that way. And I was feeling it. And so I shared it with you.
mm-hmm.
I'll let you take it from here.
And then I had an emotional breakdown.
You did.
Because from my perspective, he's saying like, and you didn't cook for me. And I'm thinking in my head, but I just stayed up like 3 nights in a row, basically all night, making sure that Danny could have his rest so that he could perform well for Discover. So by the time Sunday afternoon came around, I was like a zombie. But this is all surface level shit anyway.
Yeah.
And then I'm thinking, and I look after the baby, and I do this, and I do this, and I'm just getting back into work, and you want me to do this, and I like start having an absolute spiral out of control. Because for me, it's like all I can feel is you're clearly not seeing me for what I do and how I do support us and how I do love you. That like one thing was like, you don't get me at all then. Like, I can't be bothered for this. And my shadow side is I protect and defend fiercely.
Could you share with everybody everyone has a shadow.
Yeah. So like a learned pattern of behavior. So for me, in argument or in a debate, it's I need to protect and defend my position.
At all costs.
At all costs.
Do you know what's wild?
What?
What's wild is as we were sharing this, I realized that I attracted again the same pattern, but this time it's for us to work through it together.
Right.
So really beautiful.
So that the conversation was not going well, let's be honest. And what happened next, you kept feeling like you weren't being heard or seen, and I kept defending. And then you helped me to see when I came to you with an issue, you helped me to see how you just go, yes, I can see that. Let me think about that. And that really helps me in my issue to feel seen. But I don't do that. I'm like, but don't you see this? And don't you see this? And that's what makes you feel really unheard and unseen.
Yeah.
So that was one click for me where I was like, oh, shit, I can really work on that.
Mm-hmm.
And I think if you want to share a click for you was, I said to you, from the minute you ask to talk to me,
mm-hmm.
I go automatically into panic mode.
Yeah. And that's where I get to accept responsibility, which by the way, guys, like truly the purpose of this show is to help you in your relationship. So when we share this stuff, we're sharing it from the perspective of like, here's what we learned and like, how could you apply this in your life?
Mm-hmm.
Because ultimately everything is about personal responsibility. Where I was able to take responsibility in our relationship and in our issues was the fact that by the time I finally had the courage to share something with you, I had bottled it up. It was charged. There was a whole bunch of energy behind it, which leads me to create so many stories around what could or could not be happening or what you're thinking, by the way, completely unbeknownst to you. And by the time I share, there's so much charged energy in that share that naturally you're going to get defensive.
Mm-hmm.
And I never saw my responsibility in that. I only saw the reaction. So it was really powerful.
Should I continue?
Please do. Because that kicked off a series of events.
Yeah. So then I walk away from, and we've resolved it by this point, and I'm like, there's something there. Like something doesn't feel right.
Can I say something real fast?
Yeah.
I think that, guys, what she's about to say is what is 99% of the issue and where most people don't ever change.
What I'm about to say.
What you're about to say right now. The fact that you were aware, the fact that...
So I walk away and I'm thinking, something's not right. Because even when we had resolved it, you were saying comments like, this makes me laugh. You were saying comments like, you know, like a woman should take care of her man. And I literally wanted to knock you out. Like, I was looking at you like, I get that that's a nice thing. But when you're saying it to me, it's making me hate you. And I don't know why, because there's really nothing wrong with what you're saying. So I knew it was something like, what's the story in me? And I started scanning. I'm like, is it because I've watched my mom look after my dad and maybe I don't want that, but my mom's really wonderful to my dad. I don't really have an issue with that. Like, I just start racking through all these stories and I'm not getting it there on my own. And then I have a call with Seema. And I just felt called to tell her that we had had this argument. And normally I don't really do that, but I just felt called to say it to her. And she paused and she's like, do you know what's interesting, Jen? It feels like when someone tells you you've done something wrong, it breaks your whole illusion of perfectionism. That you're always trying to be perfect and trying to be a good wife and a good mom and good to yourself and good to other people. And when someone tells you you've done one thing that doesn't feel good for them, it's like the whole paradigm crumbles down. And as she was saying it, I'm like, yeah. And then she goes, so what are you hiding behind that? What's the paradigm? What's the thing that you're hiding behind the perfectionism that you don't want people to see? And then I'm just like getting like lower and lower in my chair, like, fuck, I don't know. I genuinely do not know. She's like, let me ask Spirit. And she said, it's something to do with your feminine. When in your life do you feel that you're not able to embody your feminine? And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, fuck, my whole life. And for me, that was like a, oh fuck moment. Because as much work as I've been doing on embodying my divine feminine and working on the being and not the doing, I had like missed a part of it, which is the biggest part of it, which is I don't feel feminine in my physical body. And the way that impacts my life and has impacted my life, my whole life, is like catastrophic when I look at it. Because I have this story running in my head that I'm tall and I'm awkward and I stand out and I'm different and I have to find a man that's like bigger than me so I feel like smaller and more feminine. And if you are like a bigger, taller woman, I feel like you're really going to relate to this because there's something in us where society tells us like we're not very feminine. And I just had that program running my whole life. So when someone brings you face to face with that,
it's a no shit moment.
You're like, I kept saying on the call, it's like, Seema, I think I'm dying.
Because you were.
Because I'm literally dying.
Yeah, you're having ego
a part of me is dying. And then she starts talking about like your sensuality and your sexuality and how you feel, like, how would it feel for you to like wear lingerie and dance in front of your partner? And I'm thinking,
Never.
never, absolutely never in a million years. Like, don't even ask me to do it or don't talk about it, because you talking about it is making me feel uncomfortable. So like, that's how deep the story is. And then she said, do you know what's sad, Jen? Is that you actually are really elegant and really feminine, but because you've got this program running, you can't even acknowledge the parts of your life in which you are really graceful. So I'm just dying at this stage and continue to do so over the past couple of days.
Yeah.
And the point being is that that's why relationship is so powerful. Because just Danny saying to me, you don't cook for me, or you weren't thinking of me, brought up this whole nother side of me that's actually a huge, huge part of me and a huge part of my own growth and liberation, that I'm like grateful that you now said to me, you don't cook for me, because it's not even about that.
It's not, how many times I kept telling you, baby, it's not even about the actual cooking. I don't care if you never cook for me again. It's about the acknowledgement. It's about the energy. I literally said the words. It's like, there's a part of you that won't surrender. Not that I need you to surrender to me, but it's this unsaid guard truly around your femininity.
Yeah.
Truly is what it was. And baby, you know what's so beautiful about relationship? I can only speak about ours, but I legitimately felt, because I was sitting with that for like 2 days without saying it, and everything inside of me was like, say it, say it, say it, say how you felt, say it. It's almost as if Source is up there like having fun with the two of us, like, okay, let's make him feel this, so that he says this, so that she responds like this, so that then they could,
And I think when you have that understanding, relationship becomes a whole lot easier, because now that I have the understanding that you needed to say that thing to me, I can release all my baggage around, oh, I need to cook for him and I need to be subservient. It's not even about that.
not even that, no.
But if you don't have the awareness that, oh, this is all perfect and orchestrated, then you get,
You're fighting,
get mad.
you're defending,
Yeah.
you're mad.
And I bottle that thing up, like, oh, he wants me to cook for him. Fucking cook for yourself. Like, I'll be walking around the house like, oh.
And people spend 10, 13, 15, 20, 30 years of their life in that space.
Right.
Defending, arguing, protecting the story that the relationship is actually trying to show them so they can unlock it. It's deep.
You know, and I just want to add, that doesn't mean you don't get to say your side of the story. Because just because it's important to acknowledge and hear the other side, like make you feel seen, doesn't mean I don't get to say, well, that thing that you just said makes me feel like this. And I think both are really important. Otherwise, the other person feels very muted.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, I just have to take that one on the chin and not say anything.
Mm-hmm.
But that's also not fair either.
Mm-hmm.
Because then I had a whole bunch of shit to tell you that I had been bottling up as well. That then, because you said your thing, I was like, well, maybe I should tell him about X, Y, and Z.
That's right. And it all was perfect.
It was.
It really was. Hey, friends, thanks for joining us here on Finding the One. We would absolutely love your support. And this is going to be our only ask. Please subscribe wherever it is that you're watching, whether it's Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, whatever. Subscribe and leave a comment and let us know how you're enjoying the show, because it truly, truly goes a long way.
Well, that's it, isn't it?
I think that's it. So that's all we want to tell them.
What are you handing over to me?
Well, I don't know. I'm just handing over the mic. But if you don't want to take it, I'm going to hand it over to you now to go out and just click subscribe wherever you're listening. We really appreciate you.
So back to the story.
Back to the story. Back to the story. The event goes on. He convinces you to stay.
Right.
I knew that the deck of cards was already starting to crumble. I start having experiences where, you know, even if I was going on dates or whatever, I always thought of you and I would compare them to you. And I mean, I'm not kissing ass or anything because you know how I feel about you, but forgive me, but it is a very tall order. No pun intended. Like I see you, I see all of your qualities, and it was like immediately I would go on a date and baby, 5 seconds. Nope. I would just discredit.
And if you know Danny, you know, he actually is cutthroat. He's like, I'd sit there on dates and be like,
deal with it.
Yeah, like, oh, I have a call, like I need to leave. You'd be like, you know what's not going to work out?
Kind of like a massage.
Like the massage. And I'm thinking about these women's faces like, oh, fuck. Like, because you just speak your truth. So
when it comes to that,
very freely. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And then something happened.
Right. So
I'm driving the boys to Dallas, Texas.
Right.
And we are in conversation. And I have what I'd like to call my very first psychic moment in my entire life, where I start channeling messages and I'm starting to speak into your life, about your life, things that no one would know. Do you remember that?
Extremely well. So it was like really late one night, English time. And I couldn't sleep. And now it's getting to the point of, I've had the chat, I've tried to break up with my partner and I've stayed, but things are still not good. Nothing's changing. So I would be like every night awake in bed, like, oh, I don't know what to do. I had sleepless nights. And we were having a conversation. And I remember I walked into my living room and you start like spitting fire about my life, shit that I had like never told you. And I remember feeling like I had actually stopped breathing. Like my heart was racing so fast.
Mm-hmm.
And I like don't even think I was breathing for 2 minutes.
Guys, the best way that I can describe this to you, I don't think I took a breath for like 2 minutes. And the next thing you know, both of us were like, this is so intense. And then like it came across at the same time as if we were thinking the same thing, that it was like, I don't think I even was breathing. And one of us was like, oh my God, neither was I. And we have this in our WhatsApp. Like we'll sometimes scroll it back there. And that was the moment, guys, I shit you not, where my whole paradigm crumbled. Because I had always as much as I saw how wonderful you are, I never saw myself as being worthy to be with somebody like you, if I'm truthfully honest. To the outside world, I had the money and the this and the followers and the this, but in my inner world, there was still a part of me that had yet to be healed and that was still in separation, living in separation, especially when it comes to race, which I know it's very difficult for you to understand this, but for people that are quote unquote minorities, especially in this country, if you're Black, if you're Hispanic, if you're Asian, I would particularly say if you're Black, Hispanic, and you live like in the ghetto like I did, you are ingrained with this story that like white people are different and better than you. Just flat out. It's just, sometimes it doesn't even have to be said. Like you're shaking your head. Yes, Randy is shaking his head. It's just a thing. So there was always a thing inside of me. If you guys remember on the last episode, I rolled over and I saw the top of a head where I knew that my wife would have light brown hair, but Spirit didn't let me see anything else. Spirit only let me see the top of your head, and the words came out, she will finally feel safe with you. But I saw you as like, you got it all figured out. So I thought, well, wait, she's too awesome to not have ever felt safe with a man before. And I want to hear your thoughts on that in a second. So I discredited you. So I created the story that because I saw light brown hair, women with light brown hair that are Hispanic, which was the only box I could see myself in, were from Colombia. So the story I created was that the woman of my dreams was going to be from Colombia. That's why I'd fly back and forth to Colombia all the time, because I was trying to meet her, right? And in that moment, baby, this is what happened. In that moment, we're having this psychic interaction. We both can't breathe. I felt like our souls were like one, right? And I go, oh my God, it's you. You're the one. And I said, if you're her, send me the word yes right now. I'm saying this in my spirit. I didn't ask you a question that would require the answered yes. But you literally, the next text that you sent through was the word yeah. And I was like, mind blown. And then my spirit said, but you're not from Colombia. My story, right? And source goes word for word. This is exactly what came through. But you wouldn't not be with her just because she's not from Colombia. That doesn't make any sense, does it? And it's like if this whole paradigm just fell apart. And that's when I was like, it's you. It's you. Now, I don't know how to describe to you what that felt like, to know something in you that you can't describe to anybody, that you can't tell. You for sure as hell can't tell anybody because people are going to think you're fucking crazy. But I knew it was you, you know? How do you remember that moment?
How do I remember that moment? I remember feeling really trapped, to be honest. Because more than the actual moment and what that meant for you, you were actually telling me things about my life that were really true, that were really kind of sad. And I felt really stuck in the relationship I was in and the phase of my life that I was in. And I just couldn't find the courage to actually once and for all leave. So I was just like, oh my God, I don't know what to do now. I don't know what to do. And you know, one thing that we actually haven't spoken about in ages is that you called me, I think like the day after.
I know what you're going to say.
It's true though. You called me and we were having a conversation about Awaken, right? Because I don't even know if this is the right order of the story, but fuck
Whatever.
it. You called me, we were FaceTiming, and you said, what did you say?
Truth is,
if you were really into your partner, you wouldn't be talking to me like this. And I was like, oh shit, he's right. But I just couldn't admit to myself that I was in a relationship that was about to end. I was so scared. I can't even tell you how scared I was because we owned an apartment together. Our whole lives were so intertwined to our just daily life, our family, everything. So the thought of leaving was just too scary. So although you were right, I just remember thinking, what an asshole.
Because
Like,
that's easier for the ego, right?
That's easier for the ego. And also, you kept pursuing the friendship. I knew nothing of you actually liking me at
Right.
this time. But
Right.
once I started to get the inkling, I felt like, that's so manipulative. Like, how can you like act as my friend and then be like, actually, I like you and you're the one that's been doing wrong this whole time. So I was like, what a dick. And then we didn't speak for a while.
We didn't speak for like a couple weeks.
Yeah. Anyway, cut this middle part short is I ended up breaking up with my boyfriend.
I actually want to know about that because that takes a lot of courage. And I think, listen, one of the upsides and downsides of you in any way, shape, or form being around Jen and I, there's something about our energy that is going to challenge you in your relationship because we come from truth. So we're vulnerable, right? So we're an open book. So one of the upsides and downsides of this show is that for some of you, get ready because it's gonna challenge some of your paradigms, right? And for some of you, that means you're gonna get closer with your partner because you're in a relationship where you're open to speaking about this stuff. But then for others, it's gonna shine a mirror and it's gonna show you everything that is not present in your relationship that you know should be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's essentially what you being part of my life did for me. You kept reflecting back to me.
Because I was the
you're
reflector.
A reflector.
Right.
You kept reflecting back to me parts of a relationship that I always really truly wanted and didn't have. And I just kept thinking, I don't want to live my whole life like this. Like I'm going to end up at 60 miserable with like a dog alone. And like my kids are going to leave me. I don't know. I was just telling myself like, it's just going to end badly. It's going to end badly. So one day I'd got to like a really low point where I felt, no, this isn't how it should be. And I remember my brother having this conversation with me where he said, like, there's no point in you staying in certain misery to avoid that scariness of the unknown, because what's on the other side of this like big courageous decision is something beautiful. You're just too scared to take the leap. And I knew he was right. I was like, just do it. Just do it. And the craziest thing was, it was my dad's birthday. And I remember texting my partner being like, oh, I don't know, I'm not going to go. Like, I feel I've got a headache. I'm going to come home. And he called me in that moment and said, what's wrong? You're about to break up with me, aren't you?
Wow. He sensed it.
He knew. And that was it.
He opened the door for you.
Right. And, you know, to respect him, he said to me after everything calmed down and I went home to like get some stuff, he was like, I just want you to be happy.
Good. That was the right thing.
Like, I love you and I just want you to be happy. And if this is for the moment what makes you happy, then like be on your way. I mean, it got really messy after that, but it doesn't matter. And so, yeah, I was single, doing single Jen, which, by the way, is like not what you think single Jen is. Single Jen is actually like crying in her room, like journaling and like meditating and chanting and drinking cacao and doing mushroom ceremonies. That is single Jen.
Which, by the way, let's talk about that. I knew there was no way I could ever be with anyone that had not sat with the medicine.
Right.
You can't. You'll know what I'm talking about once you sit with the medicine. Thousands of you everywhere will be like, oh my God, I now know what you mean. But once you have sat with the medicine, whether it's ayahuasca or mushrooms, you can't. You can't. It's impossible. So that was still like the stickler for me with you. Because I was like, fuck, she's everything, but she's still not awakened. So I can't be with her. Like, what am I gonna have to do? Am I have to like coach her through this? Like, I don't want to coach anybody
It's
through this.
cringe.
Yeah, right. I don't. No. I want her to do this on her own for herself. By the way, not for me. Like, but for like all this conversation. And one day you text me,
And I said, I just did my first journey.
and when you text me that, I was like, oh my God, like this is happening. Because by that time, baby, I was living in this world where I could literally see, and I started putting two and two together. I saw, oh my gosh, she went to Oxnard for the yoga journey. I was in Oxnard. Our energies met. That's right when I started my affair. That's when my relationship started to fall apart. And then next thing you know, I go to ayahuasca and I find her. And it's like I started to see like us coming together, like literally. And when you said I did my first mushroom journey, to me, it was like, this is happening. So in my heart, you were literally my wife. You were literally like, this is it, right?
And I'm still like, this random dude
Yeah.
from America.
Yeah.
But I remember in that first journey, and I feel like this happens to you a lot, so it doesn't make me special, but in my first journey, I remember thinking, I need to tell Danny, I get it now.
Everybody messages me, oh my God, Danny, I finally get it. I was like, everything I've been saying, do you understand? Yes, I understand now. Yes.
So I really had this moment where it was you and Danica, and it was like, this is why these people are in your life, and you need to now show them like, oh, I get it. Like I'm on the journey with you. This is why we're all friends.
Right.
Friends.
Yeah. Friends.
Friends.
The friend card. So I'm on my way to Greece.
By the way, sorry, just to add, when I was single, I think Danny would message me like every other week being like, what are you doing tomorrow? And I'd be like, no, shh. I'd be like, don't fly to London. I don't want to see you. He'd be like, I'll just come for a coffee. I'm like, you're not coming from America to London for a coffee.
Randy, I was serious. Like I knew someone was going to swoop her up fast, right? I had to like make my move. I had to. So I devised a plan.
You devised a plan.
I was going to go to Greece to go visit my friend George, my beautiful friend George, who's out there right now, who's very much a big part of my journey and my life. And I was going to have a layover in London.
This is how I wink.
A 2-day layover.
Right.
A 2-day layover. And in that layover, we were going to hang out, we were going to meet, we were going to fall in love, and everything was going to be wonderful. So I'm leaving Greece. I'm coming to London. We meet for the very first time. What was the name of that hotel?
Oh, the Connaught? No. I don't remember.
The B. It starts with the B.
The Beaumont.
The Beaumont. We're at the Beaumont Hotel in London. You know.
Danny's like, you can pack a bag if you want. And I'm thinking, pack a bag for what? This guy.
I'm thinking so you can spend the night with me. That's why. And we spend 2 of the most awkward days of our lives together.
Sorry, I have to add way more detail to the story.
Go.
I turn up to the hotel, by the way, in the car that Danny sent me from the hotel to pick me up like an hour away.
Because I got her a car. I'm not going to let her drive. That's how I
could have
roll.
gone an Uber.
No, it's me.
Yeah,
Me.
all right. No chill whatsoever. So I turn up and I'm wearing like jeans and like a sweater, as you call it, and quite casual. I turn up and Danny is in a double-breasted blazer with a handkerchief.
A pocket square.
Pocket square. Randy's dying.
Randy's laughing right now. Randy, I'm 20 years older than you, bro.
And I just remember turning up like, oh no.
No, wait. Tell him, we have to tell him the part about the psychic had said that you were potentially going to meet the man of your dreams. And you said, remember, you have to tell him. That's important.
I feel like we said that on the last episode. Jesse, our psychic, said to me, you're going to meet the man of your dreams. And I remember lying in bed just before this trip thinking, I'm not dating anyone else. So fuck, I hope it's not Danny. So also context is that I was in this phase of my healing journey where I realized that I don't let a man do anything nice for me.
Which is part of why our 2 days together was very...
Yeah. So my mum's in the background going, let a man do something nice for you. Just go with the flow. And I'm all like twitching at the fact that you want to spend 3 days with me and like look after me and
send you a car and send you flowers.
We forgot to tell them that you sent me flowers as well.
We sent you flowers.
Yeah. And I was like really bitchy about it.
Yeah.
So we had dinner. Dinner wasn't that awkward.
No, dinner wasn't that awkward.
Danny drives me home and nearly kills me driving on the other side of the road.
Because it's London.
And then he's like, I'm going to pick you up tomorrow morning. Like, we're going out. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to spend the whole day with you.
Listen, there was no part of this woman that would allow herself to be courted, cared for, surprised, taken care of. Nothing.
No.
Talk about in your full defensive, protective, masculine energy.
Yeah.
There was zero room.
No.
I know I had zero chill, but you back then had zero femininity. Zero.
You said it was like...
It was like dating a good-looking dude. That's what your energy was like. I swear.
So it was... We did some day trip to Cambridge. It was absolutely fucking awful.
It was awkward.
It was so awkward. We then get back to the hotel room and I think you're like trying to cuddle with me. And I'm like...
And you're not having it.
I'm like, what is going on? I'm so confused. And now I'm starting like, oh, like he really likes me. Like, stop being naive. Like, he really likes you. We go to dinner.
We go to dinner at this awesome restaurant.
It was
had
really...
the most incredible meal.
Yeah.
And at the end of the dinner, I said,
I'm just trying to be like really patient. Like I'm learning patience at the moment with myself in something. And you said, it's funny you said that.
You said that because you have taught me so much patience. I don't know what else I said. The next thing I hear is, I just think of you as a friend. And my whole world collapses. And that's where we're going to end this week's episode of Finding the One. That was good, wasn't it? That was good, right?
That was really good.
Was really good, yeah. All right, so every week we answer 2 of your questions. And if you ever want to get your question answered, just go to the Finding the One podcast Instagram, follow it, and you can ask your question there.
Okay. This is my question for you, Danny.
All right.
This person says, while single and dating, how do you develop your own divine masculine and divine feminine?
While single and dating, I don't think that it's while single and dating. I think it's just if you truly want to develop your own divine masculine and feminine, it's a devotion of your life. It doesn't matter if you're single, not single, dating, not dating. I think it's just it's a devotion. It's it's a part of your journey, right? And you do that through a lot of different ways. You could do that through an ice bath. You can do that through yoga. You can do that through meditation. You can do that through grounding. You can do that in walks in nature. You can do that in questioning, the parts of you that you want to question. And then I just think that dating is a natural reflection of your journey, and the people that you attract on those dates, it's a reflection of your energy within. Mm-hmm. So I don't think it's like that. I think it's you're doing you, and then dating happens as a reflection of you. Would you agree?
Yeah. And I think that's really beautiful. To add to that is like, often when you're dating, people come into your field to teach you something. So it's not always like, oh, that was such a shit date, they're not for me. It's like, well, what did you learn? Because this person came into your reality for a reason. What can I learn from it? How can I grow from it?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So yeah, I like that answer.
Beautiful. Okay, so this is your question that I'm choosing for you, okay? How do you know if he is the one? What feelings and thoughts are there?
Oh, that's juicy.
It is juicy.
Oh, I feel like the answer that comes to me is a really shit one.
But that's the one that we have to give.
It's like you just know. Because for us, it felt like even when I kept trying to divert away and you kept trying to divert away, we always came back together.
Always, like magnets.
Like magnets.
Without force.
Without force, without attachment, without a need to be together, because there was no reason why I needed to move across the world and be here with you. So it was just, this magnetism that kept pulling us back together. And that's for me how I felt like I know this is my one. And another way that I feel like I know is this sense of peace I have when we're both in flow, and when I feel like we're both truly aligned, we feel so like magical together. And that's something I've never experienced with any other partner, in any other friendship, in any other setting in my whole life. Would you agree?
The way I'll answer that is that, and I'll continue with this, you get to a place, and this is not because you think it, or because you're forcing it, or because you're stressed about it, or because you're trying to make it happen. You get to a place where you realize that your life, your purpose, your pathway is just more complete, more optimized, more in flow, more at ease, more abundance, more of whatever it is that you want life to be with this person. That's what it feels like. And if you even ever think of challenging that, you could literally go back to old repetitive patterns in your old life, people you dated in your old life, people, whatever in your old life. And it becomes almost like this, I could speak to this. It's like, it becomes almost as if everything was working to help you become the version of you that you are today, so that you two can be together. And to answer your question, it's not about thoughts or feelings or anything. It's like nothing and everything. Like there's no, like that's your mind asking that question. What are the thoughts? What are the
Yeah, like, can I take these boxes?
Can you tell me, right? You won't need, you'll know, because you won't need to ask the question anymore. That's how you'll know. If you need to ask the question,
it's not the one.
it's either keep going a little bit further and let it unravel, or it's probably not the one.
Nice.
Cool. Yeah. You want to close it out?
I'll close it out.
Cool.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of Finding the One. Next week, we will skip past what happened after the friend zone.
There you go. We'll see you next week.